Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Y'all enjoying yourselves tonight? Oh, man. Yeah, y'all having a good time? Thank you all for coming, man. This means a lot. I'm going to remember every single one of these faces here because I'm gonna grind hard until we put a lot of points on the board. It's gonna be a lot of souls in heaven. My goal for my life is to stand in front of God, and if He asks me, "What did you do with the talents I gave you?" I want to say plain and simple. I got a lot of people in here. Let me into the party. So that's the that's the big goal for me. Today I'm going to be talking about the creative revolution, how Christian creators play a role in end time prophecy. So, brother, he talked about getting out of your head. I'm going to put you back into your head, all right? So, I truly believe that creators are going to play the largest role, top three maybe, in the end times. And this is because as a creative, we have the ability to receive divine downloads. And now, something that we didn't have in later times, we have the ability to create art and to express them and to let other people live within the ideas and the thoughts and the revelations that we have. In the book of Joel, the prophet talks about the day of the Lord, right? You can find written about the day of the Lord in the prophet books. This is the day that God Himself is going to come back and He's going to settle the scorecards. He's going to repay evil with justice, and He's finally going to reveal Himself. So, if you are a creative, and if you are young, old, whatever the case may be, I'm going to talk today about how I think exactly, literally, God is going to communicate to us the game plan for these last days. In Job, we're familiar with the scripture. I'll go ahead and read this out. When describing the day of the Lord, he says, "And I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old man will dream dreams, and your young man will see visions." This is how God is going to communicate to us. So, this is why I want to put you back inside of your head. All right. So, we're all familiar with the One Eye Gang. How many of you know about the One Eye Gang? We can't sit at this table. These are the cool kids, all right? These are the guys, pretty much everybody in your playlist how many of you got somebody in your playlist that got a picture like this? Don't lie, that's an honest man. Come on, all right, cool. Yeah, this is the One Eye Gang, right? This is the group of these mysterious people, and this seems to be an initiation of some sort. Everybody seems to have repetitive patterns. It's almost as if someone is telling them to prophesy or to say what it is that they want them to say. So I want to talk about that eye for a second. I call it the evil eye, but there's plenty of names for it. So we see this in Egyptian mythology in the form of hieroglyphs, and they call it the eye of Ra. That's what this is. We'll also see it in Freemasonry. We'll see it in different meditation practices. They call it the spiritual eye, and you'll see a variation of these symbols tattooed on people that you should not be around, that you should be trying to get saved, rather. We'll see people call it the pineal gland, right? Saying that there's a part of the brain that releases a hormone called melatonin, right? And so the pineal gland, what it does, according to science, is it measures the amount of light coming in from the light cycle of the sun and darkness, and it tells your body, okay, it's nighttime, you need to be sleepy, it releases more melatonin. Or it tells your body that it is daytime and you need to be more alert or woke. Uh-huh. Yeah, uh-huh. And then we have it also called, the Freemasons called the Eye of Providence or the All-Seeing Eye. And you'll see this on the back of your dollar, which is the biggest piece of evidence that is out there. So what these people initially are saying is when they flirt with this eye, they're trying to communicate to us that they have some sort of link to the spiritual realm, that they have some sort of knowledge that the average person doesn't have. Does that sound familiar? right? Now in Genesis, it kind of went over our head. We were worried about the tree and the fruit, but what he said, there was knowledge of good, there was knowledge of evil. And notice that's what these people claim. They claim that they have the knowledge to do all of these little freaky things or whatever the case it may be, that make their music, their good plays, books, or etc. And I believe that with some of these secret societies, some of them haven't been given the juice like they think they've been given the juice, but some of them are wielding this forbidden knowledge, right? So I'm going to sum it up. We have people who sport that eye, and it means a lot of different things and a lot of different beliefs, but basically it's witchcraft. It is a big jumbo bot of witchcraft. I don't care if you're meditating with it, I don't care if you're making music with it, I don't care what you're doing with it. The root of it is witchcraft. And of course, just like Satan, he mixes it all up. So people, you can't really connect it to him. But at the end of the day, we Christians have one word for that: pagan. Either you're for the Most High God, or you're pagan, or you're over there. And pagan describes a plethora of things. You want to talk about the matrix, right? You can't escape Jesus. You can't, you're going to be driving, you're going to see the signs that say Jesus saves and so on and so forth, right? Here we have the gay pride flag. I'm sure we've seen the photos of them doing that, playing with the cross. We have a rapper, the baby, on the cross. We have Kanye West with the crown of thorns, and we have other artists, Kendrick Lamar with it. Everybody somehow, some way has to mention Jesus. They can't leave a man alone. For some man who existed 2,000 years ago, supposedly existed and was mythical, everyone seems to love this mythical man more than they love all the other mythical men that have lived. So what's going on right now is a spiritual warfare. If you don't know that a spiritual warfare is going on, you live under a rock. There is a spiritual warfare ongoing for the hearts of man as the forces of evil want to turn us away from God and separate us from him. So let's dive into the book of Job, right? So if you read the book of Job, you know it's a story about a man who lost pretty much everything, and it was a test to see that if he would deny God. The book of Job, probably, other than Enoch, it is probably the best book that you can read to get a comprehension of the relationship between God, Satan, and humans. When you read it again, look at it with that mindset. So what's happening is Job is saying, I feel like God doesn't hear me. I feel like he's left me out. I feel like God is hiding from me. And he has a friend, Ehil. I could be saying that wrong. Don't matter. He has a friend named Ehil who is consoling him. And he says, but you are wrong. I will show you why. For God is greater than any human being. So why are you bringing a charge against him? Why say he does not respond to people's complaints? For God speaks again and again, though people do not recognize it. He speaks in dreams and visions of the night when deep sleep falls on people as they lie in their beds. I want to make the notion that God has communicated to you this week and you missed it. Because a lot of us believe that our dreams and our vision and our imagination is just a random recollection of thoughts. And I'm going to tell you why when you lay your head at night, lay your head on your pillow at night, God uses that as an opportunity to take you into the spiritual realm and to give you warnings and to give you instructions. Because for a lot of us, it's the only time where we're not going to be so busy running around with life. We're sitting there, laying there while the spirit is awake and traveling. We are still, our body lays there, sleep and dormant. Let's talk about the five senses. Let's dive away from that and I'm going to bring it back. So we have the ear for hearing, we have the eye for seeing, nose for smelling, tongue for tasting, and we have the finger and hands for touching. So for the most part, humans cannot perceive or understand or comprehend things that rest outside of these five senses. There is a sixth sense that I want to talk about, right? And this sixth sense is how you're going to identify how and when God is speaking to you. A lot of our friends who are unbelievers, God don't make sense to them because they're trying to comprehend a multi-dimensional God with the five senses. It's important when you talk about a God, and if there is a God that exists, we're talking about a cosmic creator. We are not talking about a normal human being. So, of course, it would be natural for him to exist outside of our realm of understanding. Otherwise, he couldn't create our realm. There's a theory called the hidingness of God, and it was an atheist who wrote a argument. You might want to Google that, and C.L. Lewis wrote a rebuttal to it, and he basically said, if God exists, why doesn't he make himself more known? Why does he make it more obvious, right? I have a couple reasons. There's two reasons, right? The first reason I think is if God were to crack open the sky and be like, "Hey, I'm here," and he was just sitting there watching us, we all be scared, okay? Because you know God is watching you literally all the time, and we don't like when our spouse watches us like that all the time, or we don't like if a parent does that, and you don't want to do that to your kids, right? So that's where the love factor comes in, because God doesn't want you to try and seek a relationship with him just because you see and know he's there, because it's not free will. If Jesus cracked the ceiling, was sitting right there, of course you're going to be good and want to seek him because he's there. It's genuine when you need faith, when you need to operate outside of these five senses in order to activate him. So let's talk about the sixth sense. Can I get somebody to come up here? Uh-oh. Brother Casso. Everybody give it up for Brother Casso. All right, Brother Casso, I want you to stand right there. All right? Face me, face me. All right? Close your eyes. Trust me. I saw you twitch. Did you? You can open them. Did you feel that? You felt that a little bit, right? You felt something coming towards you. All right? Let's go back to the senses. Did you hear it? Nope. Did you see it? You didn't smell it? Sure didn't taste it. And I sure didn't touch you. I put it right in front of you. You can have a seat. Thank you. Yeah, look at that. That is what I call the sixth sense. It's not comprehended within the five senses, right? It's some sort of weird sense of knowing. You ever been somewhere and you just kind of like feel like Butter probably know a little something about this, bro. You ever feel like something was finna go down and he from the west side, he get it. You just I dodged a couple situations like that, bro. I don't know, bro. Some just it be in the air. It be in the air. Some just feel off. A lot of people call it the vibes, right? And they also call God the universe. People who don't believe in God talk about him all the time. So I believe that God, one of the main way he communicates with us is within that sixth sense, within that invisible realm, which makes Jesus even more necessary. That'll kind of give you a little bit of insight on why God said, let me come down as a man and make myself more relatable and more upfront, because we can only comprehend within the fifth sense. All right, so let's talk about some things that are in the sixth sense. We have the imagination, right? Which imagine means to form a mental concept, the faculty of action of forming new ideas, images, concepts, external objects, and the present to, not present to these senses, right? The imagination is an forever evolving roadmap. Some of us, at least for me, at the age of 12, I developed an imagination of what Tyrel would be like when he grew up. I didn't necessarily have all of the details, but I kind of had a big idea of what it would be. And that picture has consistently stayed in my head throughout my life. A lot of us probably had that, whether it was to be a dancer, even at 12, if you imagine being a mom or being a music artist, whatever it is. I believe that when you were created, God wrote it down and he drew it and he implanted it in your brain. Metaphorically speaking, he implanted it in you, and that imagination is your roadmap. That is what you're supposed to be. That is what you're supposed to cling with. God gave you a vision, and your whole life has kind of been a testament of you could either stay with that vision or that imagination, or you can ignore it, or you could decide to go on a different way. We have the dream, a succession of images and thoughts, emotions passing through the mind during sleep. We have a vision, right? A vision, obviously, there's different meanings of it. Specifically, I'm more so talking about the "that's so Raven" type of vision, right? Some people have those. We hardly see that. We got imagination dream all the time. Some people do have that gift of vision, right? Here are some times where people have dreamed in the Bible. We have Abraham, who received the covenant through God, and he also had some visions futures, right? That was a vision because it wasn't just a dream, it was a plan that went on in the future and played out, right? So that's why we call that a vision. We have Jacob, we have Joseph, plenty of dreams. We have Solomon. Solomon received his wisdom because God asked, "What do you want? I'll give you anything." And he asked Solomon that in a dream. We have Daniel, we have Pontius Pilate's wife who received the dream about Jesus, right? So let's go back to Joseph. The Joseph, that's the father of Jesus. He received a dream where God told him, "You need to hide Jesus because Herod is going to kill him." Now, when if Joseph woke up and said, "Man, that was just a crazy recollection of random subconscious thoughts that I had last night," which is how we see dreams, right? They might have found a way to get to Jesus. What about Abraham? When if he thought that that dream he had wasn't a creator coming into him with a plan for a covenant, right? We wouldn't have been able to get Israel. Solomon, right? These are practical ways that we experience every night that God wants to talk to us, but the people of these scriptures, they chose not to ignore them, right? We see God sometimes come as a burning bush or make an exaggerated, kind of exaggerate himself to present himself to people. He does that for people ultimately that are stubborn, people that he has to tell multiple times, like Jonah, for example. But for the most part, God speaks to us in a soft and subtle way, and we have to yield to it. And that's the dream world. So I challenge you to think, what has God told you in your dreams lately? All right, we have Hebrews 11:6. I want to read this out. I'm wrapping up here. And without faith, it is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Now, faith is, of course, the hope of unseen things, right? I have a good friend as a pastor named Pastor John Utley, right? He says faith is seeing the answer before you see the answer so you can see the answer. That was pretty hard when he said that. Faith is this invisible thing that you have to believe in, and what Jesus is or Paul is saying, right? What Paul is saying in the Hebrew, some people are on the edge of whether he wrote it, but you know it's Paul's teachings. He wrote that. He's saying if you can believe in that physical thing, that is what a reward is. If you're looking to grow that business, grow that ministry, grow that family, it's all about the belief in that invisible thing that you can't necessarily apply the senses to. And faith, the complete trust and confidence in someone or something. All right. So the sixth sense is not just available to us as believers, right? It's also available to the other side. We receive different imaginations and thoughts throughout the day, as Butter was talking about, holding those thoughts captive. It's very important to do that because the devil can put things in your dreams and imagination as well. But it's very important to go on your journey from reading that Bible from front to back because once you understand the character of God, then you'll be able to easily discern what is and isn't from him. All right. So, don't give evil so much credit. Broadcast goodness. So we all know there's this guy who is breaking social media, breaking the internet because he has some new things going on where he's mocking Jesus, right? So we got and then we got these beret of pastors getting exposed, right? So we have this thing where everybody is so focused on exposing and some people that is their ministry to go out and talk about so and so, right? But for the most part, everybody seems to be highlighting the negative. They seem to be highlighting the evil eye gay. I would like to say, I think that it is more important that we show the goodness of God rather than exposing evil. I say it should be about 20% exposing, 80% of showing them the goodness of God, because that is how you convert people. An example, the first two episodes of my documentary, this episode is a story of a child born out of rape. So obviously, we could have took the whole episode to talk about abortion, but I chose to make that a very small part of the episode and to use most of it to talk about the woman who was surrendered by her mother. So she grew up, and now her business is saving. It's called Safe Haven Baby Boxes. Her business is now saving babies who were abandoned and giving mothers who want to who maybe don't want to get an abortion, but they don't want to get the child, to encourage them to carry that child anyway and see it all the way through. We could have took the approach of talking about abortion the whole time, but I said, well, let's talk about it a little bit, but for the most part, let's tell a story of someone who wasn't aborted and show the goodness. Then we have another episode I did, Creators versus the Education System, the story of negative programming in education. We talked a little bit about it, but then we talked about people who kind of identified that the education system was trying to program us, and they kind of went the other way and did what God intended for them. I want to challenge you to seriously pay attention to your dreams. Put a notebook by by your bed and write it down. Ask the Holy Spirit to reveal to you what these dreams mean. And these dreams are warnings, warnings of things that are to happen, warnings of God wanting you to intercess on behalf of other people, but also in these dreams are ideas. If you can pay attention to the sixth sense, you can begin to communicate with God even more, and you can begin to hear his voice more clear. It's important that we start positioning ourselves to pay attention to our dreams, visions, and imaginations in these end times, because God is telling us to tell people to get ready. God is telling us to go and reach people and to send certain messages first. And we have to believe that this invisible force is trying to use us, because they certainly believe an invisible force is trying to use them. And they certainly have no problem saying what this invisible force is telling them to say. We've got to come with that same energy. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.